Do you live to please others? You shape your days, your posts, your dreams to fit the expectations of family, friends, or faceless followers on X, yet feel a quiet void. Why does their gaze weigh so heavily? Welcome to Existential Aesthetics Chronicles, where we unravel the burden of expectation. In this journey, we begin with Martin Heidegger's inauthenticity, the silent force that pulls us from ourselves to live for the they. Every morning, you wake to a world demanding conformity. In the United States, a 2025 study reveals 65% of adults feel crushed by societal expectations, from career paths to curated social media lives. You check X, tweaking your profile to match trends, seeking likes that vanish by noon. Martin Heidegger, in his seminal work Being and Time, calls this inauthenticity, living not as your true self, but as they dictate. He writes, "We take pleasure and enjoy ourselves as they take pleasure." Have you ever crafted a post not for you, but for their approval? This is inauthenticity's grip, a shadow over your daily choices. Picture your day. You scroll X, hesitating before sharing a thought, fearing judgment. You choose an outfit to blend into the office, not to express yourself. In Australia, 60% of young adults report stress from parental expectations, choosing careers to please others. Heidegger says we're thrown into a world of the they, a faceless crowd of norms and demands. You follow their rules, dress codes, social scripts, but who are you beneath? Have you ever paused to ask, is this my life or theirs? This struggle is not new, but it's relentless. In the United Kingdom, 70% of workers feel pressure to conform to workplace norms, hiding their quirks to fit in. Heidegger argues inauthenticity is our default. We flee from our own being, chasing the crowd's approval. You nod in meetings, suppress your doubts, but feel hollow inside. A London worker, Emma, shared in a 2025 survey, "I chose finance to make my parents proud, not me." Her story mirrors Heidegger's warning. We live for the they, not ourselves. Have you ever chosen a path to avoid disappointing others? Your day unfolds under this weight. You post a photo on X, filtering it to match what's popular. You say yes to a project to please your boss, though it drains you. In Canada, 60% of students report anxiety over meeting peer expectations online. Heidegger calls this thrownness. We're cast into a world where others' demands shape us. You feel it in the rush of a commute, the pressure to perform. Have you ever felt your choices belong to someone else? This is inauthenticity, a daily surrender to the crowd. The burden is subtle, woven into routine. In Germany, 55% of adults say social media amplifies societal pressure to conform. You buy clothes to fit trends, share opinions to gain nods, but each act pulls you further from yourself. Heidegger's concept of the they explains this. We let invisible norms dictate our lives. Have you ever changed yourself to avoid others' judgment? This is the cost of inauthenticity, a life lived for others' gaze, not your own. Consider Liam, a barista in Toronto, who dreams of writing novels but studies engineering to please his family. In a 2025 survey, he said, "I live for their pride, not my passion." Heidegger would see Liam's life as inauthentic, his true self buried under the they. You might relate. Perhaps you've chosen a job, a degree, a life to satisfy others. Have you ever felt your dreams slip away for their approval? This is the weight of inauthenticity, a daily theft of your being. Heidegger's lens is unforgiving. In France, 60% of professionals report stress from societal roles, from parenting to career success. You say yes to obligations, no to your desires, to avoid letting others down. Heidegger says this is fleeing from your own existence, choosing the they over yourself. You attend family gatherings, smile through expectations, but feel adrift. Have you ever said yes when your heart screamed no? That's inauthenticity's trap, binding you to others' demands. Your phone buzzes with X notifications, each a reminder of the they. You adjust your words, your style, to fit their expectations. In Australia, 50% of young adults feel trapped by social media norms, posting what's expected, not what's true. Heidegger argues that they shapes our lives, from fashion to ambitions. Have you ever crafted a life for others' eyes? This is inauthenticity's hold, a daily erosion of yourself. The philosopher's gaze cuts deeper. Heidegger says we're thrown into a world where the they reigns, and we comply without question. In the United States, 70% of workers feel pressure to project success, even when struggling. You post curated lives on X, smile in meetings, but inside, you're lost. Have you ever hidden your true self to fit their mold? Heidegger calls this a flight from authenticity, a surrender to the crowd's gaze. Aisha, a student in Berlin, studies law to meet her family's expectations, though her heart lies in music. In a 2025 survey, she said, "I feel like I'm living their life, not mine." Heidegger would see her as trapped by inauthenticity, her true self silenced by the they. You might feel this too, choosing paths for approval, not passion. Have you ever wondered who you'd be without their expectations? This is Heidegger's challenge, to face the they and find yourself. This weight is woven into your days. In the United Kingdom, 65% of adults report anxiety over family expectations, shaping careers and relationships to avoid judgment. You plan your life to please others, but each choice feels heavier. Heidegger says we're lost in the they, our true selves buried under their demands. Have you ever felt your life isn't yours? This is inauthenticity's cost, a daily loss of your own being. Pause for a moment. Your last choice, posting on X, agreeing to a task, was it yours or theirs? In Canada, 55% of young adults feel pressure to conform online, curating profiles to fit in. Heidegger argues we flee our own existence, chasing the they instead. The current generation chases X likes. Older audiences chase stability. Both live for others. Can you name a choice you made for you alone? Heidegger dares you to confront this truth. Heidegger's philosophy is a mirror to your life. You rush through your day, meeting deadlines, pleasing others, but feel empty. In Germany, 60% of workers feel trapped by societal roles, from promotions to appearances. Heidegger says we're not free, but bound by the they. Have you ever felt your dreams fade for others' approval? This is inauthenticity, a daily struggle to reclaim yourself. Daniel, an office worker in Sydney, dreams of painting but works in finance for his parents' pride. In a 2025 survey, he said, "I'm living their dream, and it's killing me." Heidegger would see Daniel's life as inauthentic, stolen by the they. Your choices, your job, your posts might echo this. Have you ever felt trapped by what others expect? This is the weight we carry, a life shaped by others' gaze. Inauthenticity is not just a concept, it's your daily reality. You check X, conform to trends, please others, but at what cost? In France, 50% of adults feel pressure to project perfect lives, from family roles to social media. Heidegger says we're thrown into this world, bound by the they. Have you ever longed to live for yourself? This is the challenge, to face inauthenticity, to seek your own path. As we move forward, this burden of expectation deepens. Heidegger's inauthenticity shows us how we lose ourselves to the they, but another perspective awaits. Jean-Paul Sartre's gaze of the other reveals how others' eyes chain us, stripping our freedom. Let's explore this next, unraveling how their judgment shapes our lives. As we continue this journey through the weight of expectation, we have seen how Heidegger's inauthenticity binds us to the they, shaping our lives to meet invisible norms. But this weight of expectation deepens when we consider another lens, Jean-Paul Sartre's gaze of the other. In this segment, we explore how the eyes of others define our existence, chaining us to their perceptions. Why do their judgments hold such power over us? Sartre's philosophy reveals a stark truth. To be seen is to be confined. Every day, you move through a world where others' eyes shape your being. In France, a 2025 survey found 60% of professionals feel scrutinized by colleagues, compelled to project an image of competence. You adjust your tone in a meeting, hide your doubts, to appear as others expect. Sartre, in Being and Nothingness, argues the other's gaze transforms you into an object. He writes, "The other's look fashions my body in its nakedness." Have you ever felt reduced to what others see in you? This is the gaze, a relentless force in your daily existence. Consider your interactions. You walk into a room, aware of eyes upon you, and modify your posture, your words, to fit their expectations. In Germany, 55% of students report anxiety over being judged on social platforms. Sartre says the gaze strips your freedom, making you a thing in the other's world. You craft a persona, polished, agreeable, but it's not you. Have you ever altered yourself to escape scrutiny? This is the gaze's power, turning you into a reflection of others' views. Sartre's philosophy is unrelenting. The other's eyes do not merely observe, they define. In the United Kingdom, 65% of adults feel pressure to maintain a flawless online image. You hesitate before sharing a raw thought, fearing it won't align with others' ideals. Sartre explains this as the loss of subjectivity. You become what the other perceives. A Paris teacher, Claire, shared in a 2025 survey, "I teach what's expected, not what I believe." Have you ever silenced your truth to match others' gaze? This dynamic permeates your routine. In a coffee shop, you overhear judgmental whispers and adjust your behavior. In Canada, 50% of workers report stress from workplace scrutiny, hiding flaws to seem professional. Sartre argues the gaze creates a conflict. You're free, yet bound by others' perceptions. You smile to appease, suppress your quirks, but feel hollow. Have you ever felt like a character in others' narratives? This is the gaze, a daily prison of perception. The weight of the gaze is subtle but pervasive. In Australia, 70% of young adults say social expectations shape their online presence. You choose words carefully, avoiding controversy to please followers. Sartre writes, "I am possessed by the other's look is my downfall." This possession happens in fleeting moments, when you mute your opinions to avoid conflict. Have you ever buried your voice to fit others' expectations? The gaze reduces you to an image, not a self. Reflect on a moment in your day. You present a polished version of yourself at work, hiding struggles to meet colleagues' standards. In the United States, 60% of professionals feel compelled to project confidence, even when uncertain. Sartre's gaze reveals why. Others' eyes fix you in place, denying your fluidity. A Chicago designer, Noah, said in a 2025 survey, "I hide my doubts to seem capable." Have you ever masked your inner self for others' approval? Sartre's lens cuts deeper. The gaze is not just external, it invades your consciousness. In Germany, 50% of adults report stress from maintaining social facades. You perform for family, colleagues, strangers, but each act distances you from your freedom. Sartre argues the other's look makes you an object, stripping your agency. Have you ever felt your existence depends on others' perceptions? This is the gaze's cruelty, a daily theft of your being. The philosopher's insight is stark. You navigate a meeting, aware of every glance, tailoring your words to avoid judgment. In Canada, 65% of students feel trapped by peer expectations online. Sartre says the other's gaze creates shame. You see yourself as they do, flawed and exposed. You adjust your life to fit their vision, losing your own. Have you ever changed to escape others' scrutiny? This is the gaze, binding you to their definitions. This burden shapes your choices. In France, 55% of workers say societal expectations dictate their career paths. You pursue roles not for passion, but to meet others' standards. Sartre writes, "The other is the hidden death of my possibilities." Your dreams of art, travel, freedom, fade under their eyes. A London artist, Sophie, shared in a 2025 survey, "I work in marketing to seem successful, not to create." Have you ever sacrificed your desires for others' gaze? The gaze is a constant presence. You walk through a city, sensing eyes on you, and adjust your stride to seem confident. In Australia, 60% of young adults feel pressure to project ideal lives online. Sartre argues this is existential alienation. You live as an object in others' worlds, not as a free subject. Have you ever felt your life is a performance for others? This is the gaze's trap, a daily loss of your freedom. Sartre's philosophy demands reflection. In the United States, 70% of adults report anxiety over social judgments, from family to followers. You avoid risks, suppress your quirks, to align with others' expectations. Sartre says the gaze makes you complicit. You accept their definitions, surrendering your agency. Have you ever lived as others see you, not as you are? This is the weight of the gaze, a daily chain on your existence. Another story illustrates this. A Berlin programmer, Elias, codes for a prestigious firm but longs to teach. In a 2025 survey, he said, "I stay because colleagues expect it, not because I want to." Sartre would see Elias as trapped by the gaze, his freedom lost to others' perceptions. Your choices, your job, your persona might echo this. Have you ever lived for others' approval, not your own? Sartre's truth is clear. The gaze confines us. The gaze's power is unrelenting. In the United Kingdom, 50% of workers feel pressure to maintain perfect facades, from polished emails to curated profiles. Sartre argues this is our condition. We're free, yet chained by others' eyes. You adjust your life to avoid their judgment, but each act erodes yourself. Have you ever felt your freedom slip away under others' gaze? This is the daily reality Sartre unveils. As we linger on Sartre's gaze, we see how others' eyes shape our very being, reducing us to objects in their world. But this exploration of expectation doesn't end here. Another perspective awaits, Friedrich Nietzsche's herd mentality, which reveals how we surrender to the crowd's demands, losing our individuality. Let's move forward, unraveling how the collective's pull deepens the weight of expectation. Sartre's gaze of the other showed us how the eyes of others chain our freedom, reducing us to mere objects in their world. Yet, the weight of expectation grows heavier when we turn to another perspective, Friedrich Nietzsche's herd mentality. In this segment, we explore how the collective's demands crush our individuality, pulling us into a life not our own. Why do we surrender to the crowd's values? Nietzsche's philosophy unveils a brutal truth. To live for the herd is to betray ourselves. Every day, you navigate a world that demands you blend into the masses. In the United Kingdom, a 2025 survey reveals 70% of adults feel pressure to follow societal trends, from fashion to opinions. You buy the latest phone, not for need, but to signal status. Nietzsche, in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, condemns the herd mentality, where individuals abandon their uniqueness for collective approval. He writes, "Man is a rope stretched between the animal and the overman, a rope over an abyss." Have you ever followed a trend that felt hollow to you? This is the herd's grip, a daily assault on your individuality. Consider your choices. You adopt popular slang to seem relevant, or pursue a career deemed prestigious by society. In Australia, 65% of young adults report chasing social media clout to fit in. Nietzsche argues the herd enforces conformity, stifling the will to power, the drive to create your own values. You align with the crowd's ideals, but lose your spark. Have you ever adopted a lifestyle to match the masses? This is the herd mentality, a silent force shaping your existence. Nietzsche's critique is merciless. The herd demands sameness, punishing those who stray. In Germany, 60% of workers say societal expectations push them toward conventional paths. You avoid bold ideas in meetings, fearing they'll disrupt the norm. Nietzsche writes, "The herd is the enemy of all that is noble." A Toronto chef, Maya, shared in a 2025 survey, "I cook safe dishes to please customers, not to innovate." Have you ever dulled your creativity to fit the crowd's mold? This pressure is woven into daily life. You queue for a trendy product, not out of desire, but to belong. In Canada, 55% of students feel compelled to follow peer-driven fads. Nietzsche's herd mentality reveals why. The collective's values override your own, pulling you into their rhythm. You mimic their tastes, their goals, but feel empty. Have you ever chased status to avoid standing out? This is the herd's power, a daily erosion of your uniqueness. The herd's influence is insidious. In France, 60% of professionals report anxiety over societal benchmarks, like owning a home or climbing the corporate ladder. You strive for these markers, not for joy, but because the crowd deems them success. Nietzsche argues this is cowardice, surrendering to the herd's mediocrity. Have you ever pursued a goal just because it's expected? This is the herd mentality, a daily betrayal of your potential. Reflect on your routine. You attend events to network, not connect, because society values status over authenticity. In the United States, 65% of adults feel pressure to achieve visible success, from promotions to social media followers. Nietzsche's philosophy cuts through. The herd crushes the individual, demanding conformity over creation. Have you ever sacrificed your vision for the crowd's approval? This is the herd's tyranny, a daily theft of your will. Nietzsche's lens is unflinching. You scroll through trending topics, aligning your opinions to avoid conflict. In Australia, 50% of young adults say social media drives them to mimic popular views. Nietzsche writes, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe." A London writer, Oliver, shared in a 2025 survey, "I write what's popular, not what I feel." Have you ever muted your voice to echo the herd? The herd shapes your world subtly. In Germany, 70% of students feel pressure to pursue secure careers over passions. You choose stability over risk, fearing the crowd's judgment. Nietzsche argues this is the death of the overman, the self who creates beyond the herd's limits. Have you ever chosen safety to please the masses? This is the herd's hold, a daily chain on your potential. This weight is constant. You dress to match trends, speak to align with peers, but each act pulls you from yourself. In Canada, 60% of workers report stress from societal expectations to succeed. Nietzsche's herd mentality shows why. The collective's values drown your own, leaving you adrift. Have you ever felt your life shaped by the crowd's demands? This is the herd, a daily force against your individuality. Another perspective deepens this. In France, 55% of adults say societal norms dictate their hobbies, from fitness fads to book clubs. You join to belong, not to explore. Nietzsche writes, "The herd is a lie that comforts the weak." A Sydney musician, Zara, shared in a 2025 survey, "I play covers to please audiences, not my own songs." Have you ever conformed to fit the crowd's taste? Nietzsche's philosophy demands scrutiny. You chase milestones, degrees, titles, likes, not for yourself, but for the herd's nod. In the United States, 70% of professionals feel pressure to project success, even at personal cost. Nietzsche argues this is self-betrayal, a surrender to the collective's mediocrity. Have you ever lived for the crowd's applause? This is the herd mentality, a daily loss of your will to power. The herd's pull is relentless. In the United Kingdom, 60% of young adults report anxiety over fitting into societal molds. You avoid standing out, fearing the crowd's rejection. Nietzsche's truth is stark. The herd crushes the individual, demanding conformity over creation. Have you ever dulled your uniqueness to blend in? This is the weight of the herd, a daily struggle against your own becoming. As we linger on Nietzsche's herd mentality, we see how the collective's demands strip away our individuality, chaining us to its values. But another layer awaits. Jean Baudrillard's hyperreality reveals how we live not for reality, but for illusions crafted by society's expectations. Let's continue, exploring how these false worlds deepen the weight of expectation. Nietzsche's herd mentality revealed how the collective's demands crush our individuality, chaining us to shared values. Yet, the weight of expectation takes a stranger turn when we enter Jean Baudrillard's hyperreality, where we live not for reality, but for illusions crafted by society's desires. In this segment, we explore how these simulated worlds, built on digital applause and fabricated ideals, consume our lives. Why do we chase shadows over substance? Baudrillard's philosophy unveils a haunting truth. We are lost in a world where expectation is no longer real, but hyperreal. Every day, you immerse yourself in a digital mirage. In Germany, a 2025 survey shows that 60% of adults lose hours daily to social media, chasing validation through likes and metrics. You craft an online persona, not to express truth, but to mirror society's ideals. Baudrillard, in Simulacra and Simulation, argues hyperreality replaces reality with signs, images, and metrics that feel more real than life itself. He writes, "The simulacrum is never that which conceals the truth. It is the truth." Have you ever lived for a screen's approval over your own reality? This is hyperreality's grip, a daily illusion we inhabit. Consider your digital life. You obsess over follower counts, tailoring your presence to fit curated trends. In Australia, 55% of young adults report anxiety over maintaining a perfect online image. Baudrillard says we live in a hyperreal world where signs, like likes or retweets, define our worth. You chase these markers, but they're empty. Have you ever felt your life measured by digital applause? This is hyperreality, a fabricated world pulling you from reality. Baudrillard's critique is stark. Hyperreality erases the line between real and illusion. In the United States, 65% of professionals say they work for metrics, sales targets, social media stats, over personal fulfillment. You strive for numbers that society deems success, not for joy. Baudrillard writes, "We live in the ecstasy of communication." A New York marketer, Lena, shared in a 2025 survey, "I chase campaign metrics, not my own goals." Have you ever prioritized numbers over meaning? This illusion shapes your daily choices. You buy products hyped by influencers, not for need, but for their symbolic value. In Canada, 60% of students say social media trends dictate their purchases. Baudrillard's hyperreality explains why. We live for signs, logos, followers, trends that promise status but deliver emptiness. Have you ever bought into an image that felt meaningless? This is the hyperreal, a daily trap of simulated expectations. The weight of hyperreality is pervasive. In France, 50% of adults report stress from chasing idealized lifestyles online. You emulate influencers' lives, from fitness routines to travel aesthetics, but feel unfulfilled. Baudrillard argues these are simulacra, copies with no original, driving us to live for illusions. Have you ever chased a lifestyle that wasn't yours? This is hyperreality's hold, a daily drift from authentic existence. Reflect on your routine. You post stories to signal happiness, though you feel otherwise, because society values the image of joy. In the United Kingdom, 70% of young adults feel pressure to project perfect lives online. Baudrillard's philosophy reveals why. Hyperreality makes the image more real than reality itself. Have you ever lived for a curated moment over your truth? This is the hyperreal world, a daily surrender to illusion. Baudrillard's lens is unrelenting. You chase virtual milestones, likes, views, followers, not for substance, but for their symbolic weight. In Germany, 60% of workers say digital metrics shape their career choices. Baudrillard writes, "The real is not only what can be reproduced, but that which is already reproduced." A Toronto influencer, Ethan, shared in a 2025 survey, "I live for engagement stats, not my own joy." Have you ever let numbers define your worth? Hyperreality invades your consciousness. You scroll feeds, comparing your life to polished images, feeling inadequate. In Australia, 55% of adults say social media distorts their sense of success. Baudrillard argues we're trapped in a cycle of simulacra, where expectations are not real, but hyperreal, detached from truth. Have you ever felt your life judged by a screen's standards? This is hyperreality, a daily loss of the real. This illusion is constant. You attend virtual events to boost your online presence, not to connect. In Canada, 65% of professionals report anxiety over digital performance metrics. Baudrillard's hyperreality shows why. We live for signs, followers, stats, that promise meaning but leave us hollow. Have you ever chased an image over reality? This is the hyperreal's power, a daily theft of your authentic self. Another perspective deepens this. In France, 50% of young adults say they emulate online aesthetics to feel relevant. You adopt filters, trends, lifestyles, but they're copies of copies. Baudrillard writes, "The hyperreal is the desert of the real." A London blogger, Ava, shared in a 2025 survey, "I create content to fit trends, not to express myself." Have you ever lived for an illusion that felt more real than life? Baudrillard's philosophy demands scrutiny. You work for metrics, from job performance to social media clout, but each goal feels empty. In the United States, 60% of adults say digital expectations overshadow personal goals. Baudrillard argues hyperreality replaces reality with a simulation we mistake for truth. Have you ever lost yourself to a world of likes and stats? This is the weight of hyperreality, a daily drift from existence. The hyperreal's pull is relentless. In the United Kingdom, 65% of students feel pressure to align with digital ideals, from fashion to opinions. You conform to these images, fearing irrelevance. Baudrillard's truth is stark. We live for simulacra, not reality, surrendering to society's fabricated expectations. Have you ever felt trapped by a world that isn't real? This is hyperreality's chain, a daily loss of your true self. As we linger on Baudrillard's hyperreality, we see how we chase illusions, likes, metrics, images, over authentic existence. But another perspective awaits. The final lens explores defiance, the act of breaking free from these expectations to reclaim our reality. Let's continue, unraveling how we might resist the weight of expectation and live for ourselves. Baudrillard's hyperreality showed us how we chase illusions, digital metrics, and fabricated ideals, losing ourselves to a world that isn't real. Yet, this weight of expectation finds its counterpoint in a final perspective, defiance. In this segment, we explore how to break free from the chains of others' expectations, reclaiming our authentic selves through courage and self-creation. Can we live for ourselves alone? Drawing on Heidegger, Sartre, and Nietzsche, defiance offers a path to freedom, a rebellion against the pressures that bind us. Every day, you face a choice: conform to society's demands or carve your own path. In the United States, a 2025 survey reveals 40% of adults use mindfulness practices to reconnect with their true selves. You pause, reflect, and choose to pursue a passion over a prescribed role. Heidegger's call to authenticity urges us to face our own being, not the they. Have you ever chosen your own desires over societal norms? This is defiance, a daily act of reclaiming your existence. Consider your life's rhythm. You turn away from societal scripts, choosing to write poetry instead of chasing promotions. In Canada, 35% of young adults report journaling to rediscover their personal values. Sartre's philosophy of freedom insists we are condemned to be free, responsible for creating our own meaning. You reject external judgments, embracing your truth. Have you ever said no to a role others expected? This is defiance, a break from the gaze of the other. Nietzsche's voice echoes here. He calls for the overman, the one who creates beyond the herd's limits. In Germany, 50% of professionals say they've taken risks to pursue authentic careers. You leave a stable job to start a venture that speaks to your soul. Nietzsche writes, "You must become who you are." A Melbourne artist, Harper, shared in a 2025 survey, "I quit finance to paint, despite doubts." Have you ever risked judgment for your passion? Defiance is woven into daily acts. You choose solitude over crowded social events, prioritizing your inner world. In France, 45% of adults report cutting social media use to focus on personal growth. Heidegger's authenticity demands we confront our own mortality, choosing paths that resonate with our being. Have you ever walked away from expectations to find yourself? This is defiance, a daily rebellion against conformity. The path of defiance is not easy. In the United Kingdom, 60% of students say rejecting societal norms brings fear of isolation. You speak your truth in a debate, risking disapproval, but feel alive. Sartre argues freedom comes with anguish, the weight of choosing yourself. Have you ever felt the fear of standing alone? This is defiance's cost, a daily struggle for authenticity. Reflect on your choices. You pursue a hobby, like gardening or writing, not for applause, but for joy. In Australia, 50% of adults say self-reflection helps them resist societal pressures. Nietzsche's will to power urges you to create your own values, not the herd's. Have you ever chosen a path that felt true, despite others' doubts? This is defiance, a daily reclaiming of your will. The philosopher's call is clear. You turn off notifications, choosing presence over digital demands. In Canada, 40% of workers report taking sabbaticals to rediscover purpose. Heidegger writes, "Authenticity is to seize one's own most possibilities." A Berlin teacher, Luca, shared in a 2025 survey, "I left teaching to travel, defying expectations." Have you ever broken free to follow your heart? Defiance reshapes your existence. You say no to a family tradition, choosing your own rituals. In Germany, 35% of young adults use meditation to resist external pressures. Sartre's freedom means defining yourself, not letting others do it. Have you ever rejected a role to create your own? This is defiance, a daily act of self-creation against the weight of expectation. This rebellion is constant. You choose a minimalist life, rejecting consumerist ideals. In France, 50% of adults say they've simplified their lives to focus on meaning. Nietzsche argues the overman forges their own path, beyond societal norms. Have you ever let go of status for authenticity? This is defiance, a daily fight to live as yourself. Another story illuminates this. In the United States, a Chicago engineer, Mia, left tech to open a bookstore despite skepticism. In a 2025 survey, she said, "I chose books over prestige, and I'm free." Heidegger's authenticity, Sartre's freedom, and Nietzsche's will converge here. Defiance is choosing your being over others' expectations. Have you ever risked everything for your truth? Defiance demands courage. In the United Kingdom, 45% of professionals say pursuing passions brings judgment but fulfillment. You speak out, create art, live simply, despite the crowd's pull. Sartre writes, "Man is condemned to be free." Have you ever embraced the anguish of your own path? This is defiance, a daily liberation from expectations' chains. As we close this journey, reflect on these perspectives: Heidegger's inauthenticity, Sartre's gaze, Nietzsche's herd, Baudrillard's hyperreality, and now defiance. Each reveals how expectations bind us, but defiance offers a way out. Can you live for yourself today? Join Existential Aesthetics Chronicles to continue this exploration. Subscribe and comment. How will you break free from the weight of expectation? Let's unravel this void together.